There's a really clever little analogy that has been put forward by Ben Ansell, and he's suggesting that Reform UK, which has, quote, surged dramatically during local elections, winning control of several councils, a few metro mayorships, and hundreds of new councillors. On the back of that, he says, Reform have consistently polled in the high 20s, occasionally grazing 30 points. In our new Lilliputian era, where political parties struggle to amass a quarter of the vote, this makes them Gulliver. It makes Reform Gulliver. And so his idea is that Gulliver can be tied down by the smaller parties. And I find that whimsical and rather charming. And does that explain Keir Starmer's attack on Nigel Farage yesterday? There are a few moments in politics when a Prime Minister of a freshly elected landslide government voluntarily elevates a rival with 5 MPs into the role of chief antagonist. But I can't think of any times recently when that's happened. Maybe there was a point when the Gang of Four was given dignity by the Labour Party in the late 1970s. I don't remember very clearly, or early 1980s. And maybe somebody can guide me, but this is precisely what Keir Starmer has done in his speech in St Helens, with sleeves rolled back, tie askew, because of course he wouldn't dare wear a jacket anymore. Bottom button Starmer. Polls wobbling. Starmer declared open war not on Rishi Sunak or Kemi Badenoch or anybody of merit, but on the ghost of Boris Johnson, which has become Nigel Farage. Farage, the perennial outsider, the political pub bore turned populist juggernaut, has been granted the kind of attention usually reserved for official leaders of the opposition. Whether they are currently in place, like Kemi Badenoch, just in place, whether they have moved to the back benches, like Rishi Sunak, whether they... You expect an attack by the Prime Minister to at least be an attack on someone who has controlled a party with substantial seats. But on Nigel Farage, that outsider, that pub bore. So let's begin with the farce of the moment. This gaggle of lobby journalists stranded on a stalled train, sharing taxis through the northwest in scenes that smacked more of the thick of it. Or there was a wonderful train film with Frankie Howard in it long ago. I forget the name of the film. And their destination, a drafty aircraft hangar where Starmer, waiting like a man abandoned at a wedding altar, began an extraordinarily rhetorical pivot. And in this speech, Starmer named Farage more times than he's mentioned his own Chancellor. And the reason was clear. He wasn't trying to neutralise Farage. He was inflating him. Keir Starmer has chosen to construct an election narrative around a binary choice, Labour or Reform. And he's trying to do it 4 years before he actually has to. In effect, he's resurrecting the spectre of 2015's Vote Miliband, Get the SNP scare campaign, but this time it's Vote Lib Dem or Stay at Home, Get Farage. This is not a gaffe, this is a strategy. And it's a strategy which has been set up years before it's necessary. It may seem madness to dignify Farage, who was until recently not even in Parliament, but under first past the post, perception is power and perception shapes behaviour. And by framing Farage as his principal opponent, Starmer achieves 3 things. He turns the general election into a 2-horse race, reducing fragmentation on the left. He banks on Lib Dems, Greens and moderate Tories, holding their noses and voting Labour to keep Farage out. And crucially, he avoids drawing attention to Labour's own economic woes by contrasting himself with the man advocating fantasy economics. Starmer's central attack line, that Farage's tax and spend plan is Liz Truss 2.0, another casino bet, another mortgage-destroying ideological bender. That's not just an economic criticism, it's a bid to trigger trauma. And this is the issue. Farage is delighted. Nothing flatters a populace more than being cast as a threat to the establishment. Every time Starmer invokes his name, Farage's credibility grows not only as a disruptor, but as a potential prime minister. And it's worth recalling that in Runcorn, where the by-election saw Labour activists targeting affluent Tory votes, begging for tactical support, while reform swept the working class estates. This is not a theoretical problem. This is an active political hemorrhage. And Farage's messaging, cut tax, support families, bash immigration, bash elites, is shamelessly incoherent, but that's precisely what makes it work. It allows reform to promise everything to everyone while blaming Labour for the failure to deliver anything. And when Starmer responds, as he did this week, by stressing his father's manual Labour credentials and denouncing Farage's Project Fear 2.0, he sounds reactive, defensive, vulnerable. In effect, Starmer has confirmed that Farage is no longer a fringe irritant, but a viable national threat. And there is a grave risk for Labour in this approach. In raising Farage to the level of adversary, Starmer has invited comparisons that may not flatter. Reform's rise is not solely due to Farage's bombast, it is fueled by disenchantment. Working class voters in the Midlands, North and Wales no longer believe Labour speaks for them. They no longer believe the Conservatives speak for them. Worse still, every time Labour U-turns on British Steel nationalisation or winter fuel payments or child benefit caps, Labour reform claim the credit. Farage may be a fantasy economist, but Starmer is now cast as the follower, not the leader. The question then is simple. Can Starmer become merely disliked rather than detested? And can he do so fast enough to avoid becoming the Liz Truss of the left? This is a pantomime where both men, Farage and Starmer, are reading from the same script. Farage wants to be the bogeyman. Starmer needs a bogeyman. Each feeds the other. Yet in the end, politics is not theatre, it is arithmetic. Reform may top the polls, but Farage trails Starmer by 15 points in the best PM question. That may prove decisive. Starmer's gamble is that when the curtain rises on the next election, Britain will choose competence over chaos, dullness over demagoguery. But if he's wrong, it will be his own word, not Farage's, that will echo through the wreckage. And he won't be able to turn, this is the point, he won't be able to turn to the Conservatives for help, because the Conservatives are wrecked. And the Conservative vote, Farage hopes, will go to him. That is the danger.